Okay, in this, what we're going to briefly talk about are common materials for building bridges. Well, there are a variety of materials. We're just going to run through the kind of top four. In the links on your sheet that you got on this section, there are a couple of alternatives, kind of modern alternatives, but these are just kind of common materials that are often used. Alright, the first is concrete. Concrete is kind of the cheapest way to build a bridge. Concrete also has a very high compressive strength, which would make it ideal for like arch bridges, because arches, for the most part, are in compression. There are some tension forces, and this is really where the problem comes in with concrete. Concrete has a low tensile strength, which means when you get to the abutments for an arch, where there is going to be some tension, you're going to see fracturing, you're going to see cracking with that concrete. It's also brittle, which means that when the if a high load were to come onto the concrete, or over time, as the kind of strength deteriorates, when the concrete kind of reaches its rupture or fracture point, it's just going to break. There will be no bending, there will be kind of no forewarning, it will break. Also, concrete is susceptible to salt, and, you know, especially since you're looking at bridges in Massachusetts, we apply salt on the roads during the winter, and concrete is really just destroyed by that, and it has a relatively short life as compared to other materials. Okay, the next material is steel. Steel does cost more than concrete. However, it has some good advantages. It has both a high compressive and tensile strength, which makes it ideal for trusses, as you can see here in this picture, which are either in compression or tension. Steel is also ductile. This means that when, you know, a high load is on there, or over time, instead of the steel just fracturing, it will bend first, which can give a little bit of forewarning. Which is why steel is usually used to build truss bridges, as you can see here. Of course, steel does corrode. This can be caused by soil, water, salt, so it's a similar problem to concrete. As compared to concrete, it would have a longer life, but as compared to our other two options, it will have a relatively short life. There are obviously some materials that you can apply to steel or even concrete to kind of ward off the corrosion, but they do eventually wear away or would have to be replaced, which would just add to the cost. Alright, our last two options are kind of combinations of steel and concrete. The first, and kind of the oldest, is reinforced steel. And we can see an example of this here. Or reinforced concrete. These are all steel beams that are put, the concrete is poured around them. So you can see the concrete here, you can see the steel here. The nice thing about this is, concrete has a very high compressive strength. The problem is its tensile strength isn't that great. But with these steel reinforcements, that allows for a high tensile strength as well. It also, generally, reinforced concrete will have longer lifetimes. Of course, the problem is it does cost more than just steel or concrete alone. Alright, and our final typical building material is what's called pre-stressed concrete. This is similar to reinforced concrete, but there are a couple advantages. Pretty much what they do is they will take steel rods, but instead of just pouring concrete around them, they pre-stress them. So in other words, they apply a force which increases the tensile strength of the steel. And then they pour the concrete around it. So you can see here, this is the applying the stress. So applying a force, which increases the tensile strength. And then you can see the final product here with the concrete. Big advantages is longer life. This even has a higher tensile strength than reinforced concrete. It does cost about the same as reinforced concrete. And again, has about the same lifetime. The only real trade-off is with this higher, you get a higher tensile strength, but usually it does cost more to maintain pre-stressed concrete as opposed to steel or reinforced concrete. But again, these are just the 4 most common types of building materials.